Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, The Cat That Makes You Forget Everything. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. It's been a typical chaotic morning. I woke up late, spilled coffee on my favorite shirt, and had to deal with a dozen emails that made no sense. The pile of tasks on my desk was growing, and I was beginning to wonder if I had any chance of getting through the day with my sanity intact. As usual, my cat, Mr. Whiskers, was perched on the windowsill, lazily gazing out at the world as if he had no care in the world. I sat down at my desk, determined to power through the work that had been accumulating over the week. The deadline was tight, the pressure was real, and I was on a mission. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I prepared to type the first sentence of the email I had been avoiding for hours. The screen was ready. The words were just about to form in my mind, when suddenly there was a soft, persistent meow. I glanced over at Mr. Whiskers, who, as always, had a look of intense focus, though I couldn't quite tell what he was staring at. The way he was staring at me, though, made me feel like he was challenging me, like he was saying, "You're not going to get anything done today, are you?" I sighed. This was not the first time my cat had turned into a master of distraction. Whiskers had a special gift, a gift for making me forget everything. And I mean everything. Ignoring the cat wasn't an option, though. His meows gradually increased in volume, his tail flicking back and forth like he was conducting a symphony of annoyance. Before I knew it, I found myself pushing away from my desk, completely abandoning my work to give in to the pull of his feline charm. All right. What do you want now, Mr. Whiskers?" I muttered, pushing myself out of the chair. I walked over to him, expecting the usual petting, a few moments of love, and then I could get back to work. But that's the thing about Whiskers. He never does anything normally. Instead of jumping into my lap for some affection, he stared up at me with his piercing green eyes, and in one swift move, he swatted at a small toy mouse on the floor. It rolled across the room, and of course I followed it. I leaned down to grab the mouse, but when I stood back up, I noticed that I had completely forgotten about my computer screen, the emails, the work that awaited me. Just like that, I was lost in Whiskers' world. The toy mouse became the greatest mystery of my day. I spent the next 20 minutes trying to coax Whiskers into playing, but he was more interested in lying on his back, staring at me as though I had just fallen into his carefully crafted web of distractions. After what could only be described as the world's longest 5-minute break, I finally returned to my desk. But something had changed. My to-do list was still there, staring at me, but I couldn't remember what any of the tasks were. I stared at the list, trying to focus, but instead, my mind kept drifting to Whiskers. Had I forgotten to feed him? No, I fed him this morning. Or was it yesterday? Wait, what was I supposed to do today again? My hand hovered over the mouse, trying to click back to my emails, but my brain had left the building. I was lost in a sea of confusion. The only thing I could think about was Mr. Whiskers, lying on the couch, his belly exposed in the most vulnerable position. That cute, fluffy stomach. I couldn't resist. I had to pet him. It was like my mind had been hijacked by a cute ball of fur. I stood up from my chair and walked over to the couch, where Whiskers was now comfortably sprawled out, looking up at me with an expression of pure contentment. He blinked slowly, as if to say, "It's about time you figured out what matters." I bent down to scratch his belly, and that was it. Time stood still. I was so lost in the bliss of petting my cat that I forgot entirely about my to-do list. My phone buzzed in my pocket, an email notification, a reminder about an upcoming meeting, but I ignored it. I had forgotten what I was even supposed to be doing. All I could think about was Whiskers' purrs and the way his eyes closed in pure relaxation. Okay, I'll get back to work in just a second, I promised, but that was the thing about Whiskers. He knew how to get into your head, and once he did, there was no getting out. By the time I finally stood up from the couch, it was hours later. The sun had moved across the sky, and the afternoon light was fading. I checked the clock, my heart sinking as I realized how much time had passed. I hadn't even sent the email yet, and now I didn't even remember what it was about. As the evening rolled in, I was sitting in the kitchen, eating my dinner, when Whiskers jumped up onto the table. He walked right past my plate, gave it a disinterested sniff, and then sat down next to me. His little cat eyes stared at me, and for the first time today, I realized something. I had completely forgotten everything. My plans, my goals, my responsibilities. They had all been overshadowed by the cat. It wasn't just the work that had vanished from my mind. It was everything. The trivial details, the stress, the worry, it all disappeared the moment I allowed myself to focus on Whiskers. Somehow, in his feline way, he had managed to steal my attention completely, to the point where nothing else seemed to matter. And for the first time all day, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I needed this kind of distraction. Whiskers stretched his paws out, as if in acknowledgement of his role in my day. I smiled and scratched behind his ears. "You've got an uncanny way of making me forget, don't you?" He blinked slowly, as if to say, "I am a cat. I do what I want." And just like that, I realized that sometimes forgetting everything was the best thing I could do. In a world full of deadlines, emails, and responsibilities, it was nice to know that there was still something pure and simple enough to make me forget it all, just for a little while. Whiskers wasn't just a pet. He was my reminder to let go, relax, and be present in the moment. As I finished my dinner, I glanced at him one last time. "All right, buddy," I said with a sigh. "Tomorrow, I'll try to get things done. But for tonight, you win." Whiskers gave a contented meow, his tail flicking with satisfaction. And for once, I didn't mind.